quick change of format for Team India and, of course, for the host nation. India finishing the ODI series on a high, which will give them a great boost going into the T20 internationals. A quick look at the record there. It's a format they've had a good time in the last 12 months or so. In fact, if you look at the last few, they've got on a winning streak. That series against the West Indies was the last one they lost. And after that, it's been 7 in a row. Yes, folks, 7 in a row. My 11th Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. 7 in a row could become 8 in a row in the Australian capital of India. Carry the momentum forward from that third one-day international going into this quick change of format. The nucleus of the team essentially will remain the same. The venue is the same as that third one-day international. The only change visibly will be the Australian jersey, playing with an indigenous jersey for the first time. Very proudly, they will be sporting that. No change here in our setup, in our studio. We've got Zaheer Khan and Michael Vaughan. The only difference, Zaheer Khan, a quick geographical change for you, but an adjustment just like Team India will have to make.
Well, hope it's as good as coming back home, and hope they play the game as if they're playing in home conditions and carry that momentum forward from the previous match. I think that win was very important, and like you are mentioning and highlighting the fact that it can be their 8th win in a row. So that's special achievement, isn't it? I mean, to win 7 games of this format is very, very tough. This format, the shortest format, is very unpredictable. So I think from that point of view, for Indian team, something to look forward to and really carry that winning momentum and create history. I think you've not seen many team win so many games in a row. So here's their chance, and the conditions are different. Conditions are tough, but when you do it across the different conditions, then that many little questions being asked of your greatness.
Yeah, we all talked about the build-up to 2023, Michael, during the ODI series. The build-up to the next T20 World Cup is going to be a lot less than that. So with that imminent tournament in the horizon, it all goes well for a team like India.
Yeah, and they'll be clearly one of the favourites to win the World Cup on home soil. They disappointed last time the T20 World Cup was in India. Obviously, the West Indies grabbing that one, but... Well, they're a good team. They've got all the experience. They've got all the different combinations. T20 cricket is just about identifying the roles within the team. And I think all teams around the world, from now right through to that World Cup, will be trying to identify the roles for the individual players and then just hope throughout that 3 or 4 week tournament that they all click. You have a bit of fortune. You win the moments, which is always very important. You get your best players playing to their maximum. If you do that, there's 5 or 6 teams really that can win a T20 World Cup. I have India, England, Australia, New Zealand clearly as the 4 favourites, and the West Indies you could add into, because you just know that the West Indies can produce anything on a T20 day. But particularly India, England, and Australia, I think they're the 3 teams that are really going to be powerful next year.
Well, I can tell you there's plenty of team news coming through for both the teams, not just a different jersey for Australia. First of all, a reminder of the toss. Australia have won the toss, and unlike what they did in the one-dayers, they've invited India to have first crack in this change of format. But Zaheer, a lot of the talk is going to be about how interestingly poised the series is, because we know there's a practice game coming up for the Test series. There are some players who are common to the T20 and Test team. We'll talk about that later, but let's first look at the Indian playing 11, something that wasn't really mentioned at the toss. But here we go. Perhaps a couple of surprises in there, or perhaps not. Zaheer, Jasprit Bumrah rested. Shami will play. Natarajan will be popping in there, same as in the ODI. Deepak Chahar, we'll talk about him, Washington Sundar, and Sanju Samson, a name we didn't really talk about much in the preview.
Well, you did mention the Test series coming up after this T20 series, and that's something which was definitely on the team management's mind. You can see from the playing 11, it's great to see Deepak Chahar also back, and Bumrah being rested, and Shami was rested for the previous ODI. So I think that was a clear thought process around there, that Bumrah was going to miss this maybe the whole series or part of the series, so that he can prepare for the big series coming up in the longish format. And that's something which we've seen. I think Washington Sundar is an interesting choice at the moment. That does give them that flexibility of stacking them those 20 overs. Sanju Samson, I think just because of the conditions and his strength, you've seen that he plays short ball really well. He's got that short arm pull which has really worked well for him to put bowlers under pressure, and that's something which I think the team management wants to encourage and give him a go. And see, that's been Australian bowlers' tactics, So that's something which was on everyone's mind, how to counter that, and maybe they're trying to find that answer through Sanju Samson using at lower middle order spot, which is not a usual spot for him, but I think that's something which they're looking to add that power there.
Yeah, adaptability is the watchword, Michael. Your thoughts on someone like Sanju Samson? He was talked about so much during the IPL in terms of that potential, starts the tournament well, tends to fade off, gets to the 30s, doesn't do more. Very different in national colours for someone like him.
Yeah, I mean, he's like so many of the Indian players that are very gifted, got great ability. Getting 30s and 40s aren't going to take him too far in the game. He really has to make the most of those starts. He's got the Indian shirt on, and that means that if he does well in the shirt, and plays nicely and gets big scores, they can't take it off him, and that's has to be his mindset. That he goes and has a tremendous 3-match series against Australia. It'll stand him in great stead leading into next year, potentially keeping his place for the T20 World Cup. But you see the shots that he can play against all the different bowlers. Zach's mentioned he faces the short ball nicely. I'm sure he'll get tested by the Aussies on a couple of occasions, and that should hold him in good stead. It's T20 cricket, so you have to take risks. It's just a matter of can he take the right risks at the right time, and can he really commit to the strokes? If he does, I'm pretty sure he can get a good score.
Yeah, he might be someone you want to consider in your My 11 Circle team, because this is a very good time with about 20 minutes or less to go for the game. Of course, if you have the app downloaded already, no problem. If you don't, please download it. Select an 11, and the net result is very simple. If you want to score doubled, select your player as captain, 1.5 times as vice captain. And of course, the former captain is someone who will be playing against you. 2 teams, of course, playing there. We mentioned the indigenous jersey for Team Australia. They'll be wearing it with pride, and they will be the home team in the national capital, hoping to turn around what happened in the 3rd one-day international. A few changes, obviously forced changes. We're talking about Darcy Short. We're not sure if he'd make way, or if he'd be the David Warner replacement. He is. Matthew Wade at 3. And interesting, Mitchell Swepson, someone we don't know as much about as everyone else, will be making his way in that bowling lineup. Quick thoughts on Darcy Short, Michael. I know you felt it would be Matthew Wade who would be opening the batting, but he will slot in at number 3.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Short and Wade. That's why you look at Washington Sundar. He'll bowl in the power play to the 2 left-handers. I mean, Aaron Finch is the only problem because he generally hits off spin quite far. So that's a little bit of a tactical kind of manoeuvre that Virat will have to think about. Mitchell Swepson's had a tremendous Sheffield Shield season. He's been getting lots of wickets in the first-class game. Very highly thought of in Australia. They say he's got better and better, so it'd be interesting to see how he goes. 2 leg spinners in Glenn Maxwell, so 3 spin options for Australia. It looks a good attack. I like the attack. I mean, Ashton Agar's a big miss for them because he's been so consistent and he's a wonderful white ball cricketer. But I'm looking forward to seeing Swepson. I know Shane Warne speaks very highly of Swepson and has done for 3 or 4 years. So I'm really interested to see how he goes in international colours.
Zaheer, India have always been traditionally good players of spin, but what we saw in that last game, irrespective of India winning, was the fact that if anything in that ODI series, the Australian spinners had the better returns than even compared to the Indian spinners.
But I think the home conditions advantage, you always see the spinners also knew what kind of speeds to bowl at, how to really get maximum out of any particular game. So that is something which always adds that little fraction bit of edge to the planning for sure, wherein the Indian bowlers will have to adapt and adjust to the conditions. So that's something which we've always seen. I think this format nothing much matters that much. I think on a particular day just two batters can take the game completely away from you. So that is something which we've seen. Batting first, usually teams prefer to bowl first so that they can plan better. If you have a total in mind, then that basically eases off things with regard to how you approach the game. So batting first, I think from India's point of view, is going to be very important to adapt and understand what is the par total on that particular track. How slow the nature of the wicket is, because you've seen in the previous ODI, the nature of the wicket was a little bit on the slow side. That means you have to figure out your options and what is exactly the par score, which will set the total for you to win the game of cricket.
Yeah, I did mention Sanju Samson as being in the batting lineup, but while we may have suggested him as a tip to get into your My 11 Circle team, we've got an official tip for you, our My 11 Circle trump card. And this is the reason why we've picked the person we've picked. And it is Deepak Chahar. India almost looking at him as a bit of a T20 specialist. But it's been quite a journey from him since that 6-wicket haul against Bangladesh, the best T20 international figures ever. Then came the injury later on in 2019 in December. After that, of course, lots of drama up and down, including, as 2020 would have it, being tested, not the format, the year, being tested positive for COVID-19. Came through that and had a pretty decent outing in the IPL. So now back in national colours, Zaheer, Deepak Chahar is someone not just as a trump card for today, but will be looking to cement his place, especially if we see him as a T20 specialist.
Well, apart from injuries, he's been very consistent with his bowling. He's someone who has a decent control over swing and the length. He can outswing has been his strength, but you've seen him get those in swingers also going pretty nicely. It's pretty much like what Bhuvneshwar Kumar was doing when he was consistently doing well for Indian team, taking those early breakthroughs. You've seen, and in this modern day era of cricket, swing has been really fruitful for bowlers to work with. There are not many genuine swing bowlers around, and you've seen batters usually with the new ball struggling to counter the swing. So that is something which I'm looking forward to. I personally feel that Deepak Chahar is someone who should be given a go ahead in ODIs as well, because that swing factor has been missing in the previous series as well, what we saw. So really looking forward to Deepak Chahar now, getting that rhythm going, getting that fitness going, for the team management to have enough faith in him playing the longish format as well.
Yeah, a few years ago, Michael, they almost thought of spinners as going out of the game in a sense. That's not happened. If anything, an endangered species in cricket seems to be swing bowlers, as Zaheer suggested.
Yeah, absolutely. It's because particularly the white ball, these white balls around the world are doing nothing. I do think they need to do something with the ball just to try and produce a little bit more balance between bat and ball. That's why if a bowler does swing it like Chahar has swung it quite consistently, he stands out a mile, because there's not many that hold the seam up nicely, get the ball swinging around. He's one of a small few. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar is another one that can swing a white ball. It doesn't swing for a great deal. So after that, you need lots of skill, lots of cutters, lots of variations of slower balls, knowing when to bowl the Yorker at the right time, what type of Yorker to bowl. And he's got all that covered as well. So looking forward to seeing him bowl. I mean, he's obviously had success before for India, but you've mentioned his year, and he's had a bit of COVID. He's had injuries, and now he's on the big stage with a. And I think when the World Cup's so closely around the corner, just 10 months till that next World Cup, or 11 months, whenever it may be, you just know as a player that if you have 2 or 3 good performances, you're pretty much going to be a shoo-in. On the other foot, if you have 2 or 3 bad performances, it can knock you out of the team, and it's not the right time to be pushed out of a team when you know the World Cup's just around the corner.
Now, what's also around the corner and far quicker than that is an interesting clash in schedules. Doesn't always happen, but this is 2020, anything's possible. December 6th to 8th is the practice game ahead of the Test series. And guess what? December 6th and 8th, we happen to have the 2 remaining T20 internationals between Australia and India. So a bit of a conundrum to try and see who do you keep in that T20I squad. You want to keep that momentum going. You want to keep winning, but you also need to prepare your team for the Test series. So Zaheer, quickly having a look at the Test squad. We know the schedule. How would you look at it? Who are the first players you would say, okay, guys, thank you very much. T20 action done for you. Go and play that 6 to 8 game.
Well, we've already seen it from today's first 11 selection. The Bumrah is definitely playing that game. That's why he was not here, part of the playing 11. And most of the players actually are going to be available. So when you look at this test squad, you have likes of Cheteshwar Pujara, Rahane. Now Shubman Gill also not part of this T20 international, so he will be going there and playing. So pretty much the same, I think. Hanuma Vihari, Ravindra Chandra Ashwin. So you have test specialists, and Bumrah is going to be your trump card going forward in the test series. So they wanted to make sure that he has enough bowling under his belt. Mind you, playing 5 days, it's a different kind of dynamics, and when you are playing just the shortest format, it can take a toll on you just to stay fresh throughout the game, and stay at that peak performance zone. So that is something, which Bumrah must be thinking about. Get those 18 overs under your belt in a day, and standing in for about 6 hours if you're having a fielding day, and then backing yourself to come back the next day. That's the requirement of Test cricket pretty much for a bowler, and you need that much mileage in your legs to sustain through a Test match.
Yeah, one person we can talk about is someone like Mayank Agarwal. He's been on this India tour. Of course, shows certainty for the test. Remember, this is where he made his debut in a Boxing Day test match. Doesn't get a bigger initiation into test match cricket, but very much part of the T20 international squad. And you can see the names that we've highlighted. And all those names we've highlighted are the names who are going to be part of the test squad, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sensible, particularly for the bowlers, to be, playing the longer format now. It's such a difficult kind of physical strain on the bowlers' bodies to be suddenly going from bowling 10 overs in a day to 4 overs to then trying to bowl 18 overs. I think it's right that the Indians really look after the bowling side of things leading into that test series. Someone like Virat Kohli, he can switch between any format. I don't think it matters for Virat, but the younger, less experienced players who are going to be in the test series, you really do need them playing longer format cricket now, just to give their minds and bodies and games the kind of game time to get ready for that important test series. I mean, the squad, either squad, you could pick 11 from either squad and change both, and they're still going to be a strong team. But I think it's right that you particularly look after the bodies of the bowlers and get them used to bowling longer spells and being out in the field for the. Unfortunately, in Australia, you generally field for a day and a half. It's not often that you bowl the Aussies out in a day. So you've got to get your bodies and your minds used to being in the field for quite a long period of time.
Yeah, quick change. It's going to be, many felt that it should have been T20Is, then the ODIs, then the Test series, but a little bit muddled. So we're going to go from the shortest to the longest format of the game. Always a challenge, but it's going to be a challenge for both teams. Now, as we said, we always like participation from all of you, and you've had questions coming in and day out about this T20I series. Interestingly, today we've got a very pertinent question coming in from a few people, but we've picked one from a very familiar name, someone who's been part of our team here at Cricbuzz. So his question on #AskCricBuzz Live from Arun Gopalakrishnan is about something that has caused a bit of controversy over in England. The use of live analyst inputs excites me, he says, but then doesn't it open up the game for potential corruption? Do the coach and analyst become more powerful than the captain? And who is more accountable, captain or coach and analyst? Of course, the issue we're talking about is the England team using these huge signboards to assist players on the field, perhaps, as tactical signals. We maybe see a bit of it in American sport, but in a very different context. It's very stats heavy over there, not necessarily to try and assist players on the field. Michael, your take on this, because it's something you've been pretty vocal about, even when you've written about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go through the question. I'll start with the bottom one. Who's accountable? I hope sport never changes that the 11 players on the field are accountable for the performance. That fundamentally has to stay as it always has been. Of course, the coach has to be accountable for preparing the team. I hope we don't go through an era where the analyst is accountable. I just don't accept that can be right. The captain and coach, in particular the captain and the 11 players, are accountable for the performance out in the field. Secondly, I mean, I kind of look at analyst role in the game of cricket over the years. It's got more and more important. I love it. I like it a lot. I love the data side of the game. I just can't have that an analyst on a balcony sending messages is good for the game of cricket. First and foremost, players, and Zach's been in the Mumbai Indians dressing room, they get given that much information. There's not one player in that team that wouldn't know the matchups of the opposing team. There's not one player in that team that wouldn't know who's going to be more successful, or in terms of the data and the stats given, should be more successful against certain players in the opposing team. An England captain like Owen Morgan is the best white ball captain we've had by a good distance. If he needs messages sent out or needs a bit more information, there's ways of doing it privately without the analyst being in vision and being seen. And the most important aspect is actually that first question about the corruption side of the game, where I actually look at what the ICC have done over the years, and it's right, they've been very anal in their approach to match fixing, as they should be, particularly with the players in terms of who they speak to, phones being given in, no contact with anybody on the pitch pre-match, don't give any information in terms of teams, any kind of data about what's happening, keep that all private as it should be, because the anti-corruption units were very keen to make sure that players were away from anybody. Yet they've so far allowed an analyst to code from a balcony. I just don't quite get that. And I think that first question is absolutely right, that it could be a trigger to fixers in the ground. I know there's no or not many around the world that are having supporters at the minute, but I really do feel that the ICC have to look at this, because for one, I don't like it. Even if there wasn't any kind of corruption around, I don't like it. I just don't think the game needs it. I think there's enough information. And I also don't want to take away from that physical, that human decision-making process out in the middle. I think it's so important for sport that people out in the middle still make decisions. And you know what? You get some right, you get some wrong. That's the game of cricket. It's sport for you. So that in a nutshell is my kind of bugbear about this new kind of system. I don't think it's going to last. England using it. It's been used in the Pakistan Super League. No secrets in cricket. Zach will tell you that. It'll go around the world like wildfire. Everyone will know. They might change the number. They might change the letter. The opposing team will know exactly what's going on. And I don't see what message from the balcony could really surprise the opposing team. So there you go. There's my opinion on it.
Zaheer, a quick response from you on that, because you've played in an era when it was much more decision making on the field, and you've been in a dressing room where it's in sort of the information age, as you like it.
Well, Michael has covered all the angles. there's hardly anything left for me to add. I think the messaging which is so open, always going to create issues. It's about decoding. So when you have you're decoding the batsman, you decoding how they're planning the game, and you're always trying to stay ahead of it. Now there will be one more layer added in terms of decoding these messages, and what does it say for you to stay ahead, and eventually, currently also, if you see the timeouts are there to have these inputs. You have a 12th man running in at times, carrying that message, not only just the gloves and water. So that is happening, and I think that is the best way of conveying it in a most private way. So that is the important factor here. Well, if you don't have a great captain, then you can always think of these innovative methods to get the message across as fast as possible, so the delay is not there. But exactly. More often than not, you will see all the captains who are captaining at the international level. They are experienced guys who can handle pressure, who can be strategically good, and small little help here and there. Everyone is always open to. You've seen players gather together in between the match, to take that collective call. It's the same thing what the coach is also doing from outside. So it's just about having that much experience and getting that basic understanding of the game and evolving and taking that impulse on-call decisions under pressure. You don't have to be so open about communication. Having said that, I think the game is evolving, and you will see some kind of progression around how the message is conveyed. But having it so openly displayed out there for everyone's viewing, even though it's coded, not a great idea.
No, I'll also add that I think England are a fantastic white ball team. I think they've got the potential to go on and dominate for a few years because they've got that much strength. in so many World Cups. We've got a T20 World Cup next year. There's another one the year after, and then there's obviously the 50 over World Cup in 2023. And I do think that England are going to be right at the front to potentially lift a couple of those trophies. Really great sports teams keep it secret. If you look at the All Blacks, what do they release? We know very little about the All Blacks. There's been a documentary, but they didn't give too much away. There's been books written, but again, you don't really get into the depth of what the All Blacks do behind the scenes. Manchester United for many, many years were the golden football team over here. Sir Alex Ferguson was the manager. You kind of had a feeling of what they did, but they didn't give too much away. The Australian cricket team through the 90s, early 2000s, again, you didn't find out too much about them. Why would you potentially give anything away? Keep it private. When you've got a great team and a team that potentially can win trophies, keep it all private. Keep what you're doing behind the scenes private. Do not let the opposition know anything about what you're trying to achieve. Particularly, don't allow them to. If it's been used in Pakistan in the Super League, which it has, I'll guarantee by the time that England play again, the South African team will know exactly what that coding system is.
Yeah, fair point. We've summed up the issue over there in detail. And it's a bit ironical that it had to be someone like Owen Morgan, top captain and reigning 50 over world champion captain, who would be in the center of all this. But a little bit of coding from me to end the show, or before we end the show. It's MP, not SI. Can you figure that out? Yeah, we were just clarifying one more change in the Indian team we didn't get out earlier. So it's MP who's playing and not SI. It's Manish Pandey and not Shreyas Iyer, who will be playing in the playing 11 there. So that's one bit of clarification there. So Manish Pandey, Samson, and the other three bowlers who are in there. But just to finish off, as the match is all set to start, India batting first after losing the toss. Our joy factor question. What's the little brain tease is going to come for us as the format changes? Okay, here we go. Which international coach's autobiography, very different, shares its name with what is regarded as the most definitive biography of singer Bob Dylan and Ray Charles's daughter's story of the relationship with her father? A little complex, but read it, soak it in. Remember, it's a change of format. So Joy has also found a change of format as far as his questions are concerned. Every time I think of Bob Dylan, I'm thinking of Bob Willis. But, it's not necessarily along those lines just because of the middle name. You figure that one out and you come back to us with it. What about our little contest between Michael Vaughan, Zaheer Khan and myself? That is My 11 Circle badge of honor. And we've got the numbers down to just ±5 because, of course, it's just 20 overs. Zaheer, would you like to go first and lay down the gauntlet for India's 20 over score in this series?
I'm going 185. I think 185 is something which is achievable with this batting lineup. We've seen the wicket play really well. It has been high-scoring wicket. So I think 185 is something which I'm predicting.
Fair point. I think that's an excellent. Looks like spot on the kind of score that India would expect. Michael, going higher than that?
No, I'm going to go low. I'm going to go 170. I'm going to go the leg spinners to play a bit of a role in the middle of the innings.
Michael has given enough room for you, GB, to just squeeze in the middle.
No, I'm not squeezing in between. No, last time it didn't work for me. Fair enough. There was lots of gap between bat and pad, but I'm going to reach out. I'm going to reach out and thrash it from way outside off and go a little bit higher at 191. I'm going to go a little higher at 191. So it'll give us a little bit more breathing room outside. And we're going to, of course, come in not the 15th and 35th. Remember the change of format. 10th over Cricbuzz Combox. And then in between the innings, My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. We'll see you soon.